I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the moms, especially my own. Let's get going.
I've been, just a Black Country bloke chewing the fat about everything is mental health, disability, and life in general. Here, me, Kev Dillon, and my partner in crime, as always, Lee Cadman. And today we're joined by Clive Branson. Now, guys, you've got to forgive me, my voice is playing up today. My fibromyalgia just really kicking off. So I feel like I've had a good old flogging and my voice is croaky. But we're going to start the show as we always do with our gratitude list. And I'm always very grateful. But why am I grateful this week? I'm grateful I got to go to my daughter's sports day. My little daughter, she come last in a race, but then she won at the javelin. I was so proud of her. I was proud of her if she come last in everything. I'm always proud of her. But she got there in a boxing stance and lobbed the backhand, the javelin went flying, and she got herself a goal. So I'm grateful that I got to be there for a sports day, that she's playing a musical instrument. I'm grateful for being there up for them, all them big moments for little girl's life. What are you grateful for, bro?
Did I get our Fridays back, Kev? We've been teaching a podcast, teaching about 20 kids how to do a podcast, haven't we, the last 4 Fridays, which has been great. It's been really enjoyable. And the Friday just gone, they actually recorded their own podcast. So there's three groups.
4, I think.
4 groups.
From 10 to 18 years old.
Yeah, and there's 4 groups, and they all did a 15 to 20 minute podcast. And it was fantastic being around, wasn't it? And that was from the youth club, wasn't it? We'll mention Highgate Youth Club.
I think so.
Something like, I can't remember. Anyway, the local youth club. Yeah, it's one of those days. But yeah, it's fantastic to be able to teach them. But I am glad to have my Friday evenings back at the same time.
100%. And Clive, what are you grateful for, bro?
Do you know what? I'm always grateful for my family. They inspire me each and every day. But a red hot topic for me at the moment is actually the prostate cancer, and I'm incredibly grateful for the people in the NHS who have pressed the green light for some treatment for me. They've treated me so well from right from the very beginning, and I'm incredibly grateful that I've started treatment.
I mean, because you've got quite a lot wrong with you.
I have. My file's pretty big. Yeah.
So where do you want this interview to start then, Clive? Do you want to give us a bit about your past and your present?
Yeah, I can give you a bit of context, guys. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know I don't look it, but I'm 54.
Looking well, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been happily married to Victoria for 27 years. We've got 4 children. We've got 4 grandchildren. I mean, I've got a support network and surrounded by unconditional love that not everybody's got. And it's served me well. And it's one of the reasons why I'm here today, truthfully. So that's a massive, massive blessing. I've been in the Royal Air Force. I spent nearly 20 years with the Ministry of Defence. So I was fortunate. I had a great career. In 2017, there was a bit of a perfect storm for me. My dad was suffering from Parkinson's disease and dementia. And for a lot of us, your dad's your hero, right? And he was no different. So to watch that was torturous for everybody. My mum and dad got divorced when I was 10, but he had a partner for 35 years who stuck by his side. So that was really testing. I lost my father-in-law as well. But
Parkinson's is my dad's dad had Parkinson's.
Right.
And I remember growing up, and everyone said, "I'll spit out Grandad's mouth," but I never knew Grandad. I knew Grandad as a very poorly man.
I see.
With Parkinson, and he had dyskinesia with a shake. And,
yeah.
And he couldn't always walk, and sometimes his medication would be right and he could walk.
Yeah.
And other days he was. Have you ever seen The Awakening with Robert De Niro?
Yes, I have, yeah.
Well, I was sobbing that movie because he even looked like my granddad.
Incredible.
You know what I mean? And it's a fantastic movie, but thank goodness we've moved so forward with medication.
Yeah, haven't we?
But I remember seeing the true tragedy of the illness.
I'm sorry to hear that, mate. Yeah, no, it is horrendous. And as you say, there's medical advancements with so many things, but ultimately they can't stop it. so that in some instances they can slow it down. So there was that, and then I had a few muscle weakness problems, very minor, but they weren't going away with my left foot and my left leg, and I was seeing a neurologist at the time because I've had migraines for most of my life. But he started to track the symptoms because he got to thinking that it was a neurological problem. And a very long story short, over a period of time, he sent me to Oxford, where I was diagnosed with slow progressive motor neurone disease. Motor neurone disease is very individualistic. If it's aggressive, it stays aggressive, and they can't slow it down. And if it's slow, it stays slow. So I've got the best of a bad job. So it is slow.
Because we were saying off air, and we've just brushed over it then. I mean, anyone who doesn't know motor neuron disease, that's the same illness that Stephen Hawking's famous for having, isn't he?
That's right.
But something you said here and you said off air, was the manner that you found out. And that, I mean, to anyone out there who's got a disability or a life-changing condition, the way that it's addressed to us is so important.
It is.
And sometimes it's just this fly on the wall, like, oh, by the way, you've got cancer.
Yeah.
And they're reading the papers, they don't look at you.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, just because you deal with this every day and you've dealt with it for many decades, this conversation will change my life forever. And not only mine, my family's. And you had, unfortunately, one of those bad experiences, didn't you?
I did, Kev. You know, the neurologist that I was seeing, empathy is so important.
Yes.
It's crucial. And sometimes people get empathy mixed up with sympathy. Nobody wants sympathy in that situation. They need empathy. I need to know that you understand and that you are treating this sensitively. That didn't happen for me. I didn't even have eye contact, to be brutally honest. He just said, oh, by the way, Mr. Branson, I'm referring you to Oxford. Just that. So it was me that said, why are you sending me at Oxford? He said, well, it's the Centre of Excellence for Motor Neurone Disease. With no real eye contact. He was doing his write-up for the next consultation or something. I had the presence of mind to say, well, are you sending me because you don't know whether I've got motor neurone disease, or is it because you think I have? And he said, oh, no, it's because I think you have. And you have to understand that if you have, there's no treatment. And really, well, I was just, to be honest, for the first time ever, I was grateful that my wife wasn't with me to hear it like that, because normally she comes to the appointments. So, yeah, that was well, as you can tell, I've not forgotten that, and I'll never forget it, because I just think it was just appalling, really, how he handled it.
Well, one of my very good friends, boxing coach, and he had the same conversation with autism with his son, and he was there, and his son was a bit different, and it was, oh, by the way, so and so's got autism. Blurted out this thing, and the kid got up and went off. It wasn't, look, we have the feeling it might be this, it might be that. Not tiptoe. You don't want to tiptoe. You want the facts, but it's how the facts are delivered.
That's right.
And as you say, empathy, worse than that, sympathy, even worse than that, is pity.
Yeah.
So it's that balance.
Yeah, it is.
But we need, at the end of the day, we can't avoid the elephant in the room.
No.
It is here.
Yeah.
But it's how we address it.
Yeah. And you'd like to trust that the people in those positions have got those skill sets.
But it's not all about PhDs.
No, it's not.
It's about compassion.
It is, yeah.
Humanity.
Yeah.
And my situation is the same. To be honest, when we went in for the diagnosis, it was at Russell's Hospital. No one in Russell's Hospital at that time have heard of Dravet. So we just come out with Dravet, and then we was off on our way. And in truth, it doesn't really bother me. I'm kind of like, we deal with that much now that I kind of look at that and go, well, it'd have been bad news, and no matter how they'd told us, and we'd have had to research and done and got to where we are now. And I could get held up on that. Oh, well, today it wouldn't be empathetic, but ultimately it wouldn't have made a difference to the situation for me at all. And especially now with what we've gone through, things like that wouldn't hurt me, not one bit. All it's all nonsense and over my head. And we get bad news constantly.
But you've felt, unfortunately, you've had to deal with this so much resilience.
Exactly.
But I think the first punch on the nose is probably the worst punch on the nose, because it's, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. Once you've been hit so many times, you get used to being hit, and you build up that punch of resilience. But that first one of cancer, delay, blindness, and it's, I'm going to crumble here anyway, and that's when you need that system of love or support to go, your life's never going to be the same here. There are people you could talk to that is help, but when they just
I know it affected Nikki worse, because Nikki was obviously in the appointment with my wife, Nikki. She does, because she talks about it still, but it's still, maybe it's just the kind of person I am that I don't even need empathy off that person, to be quite honest. It just doesn't. I think at that time when you're in crisis, he could have said whatever he wanted, and maybe it just doesn't come in. You know what I mean? You kind of, I can imagine when you get a cancer diagnosis, you hear cancer, and then what do you hear after that? What do you truly hear after it? You know what I mean? You're not taking information, you know, I'm going to presume, and you just, you know, it is what it is, and then you go away and you then start digesting it.
How would you feel about that? What would you say?
Yeah, well, I do understand what
everyone
what
experiences things different, don't they?
I do understand what you mean, because sometimes when you hear cancer or motor neurone disease or psychiatric hospital or whatever, all of a sudden you feel like you're in a bit of an echo chamber, and that is all you can hear. So I do totally understand it, and the enormity of that takes pretty much all your cells in your brain, really.
Yeah.
So I do understand. I was referred to Oxford. My wife did come with me, and it was a completely different experience. They were direct and they were clear, but they were with empathy, with assistance, with support. They didn't just ram leaflets down your throat. They were there if you wanted them. They didn't just direct you into a room to speak to a nurse. You were given the option to go and speak to the nurse, and she introduced herself and then went. You know, there was just a whole different way of doing it. But even so, when the words come out, I'm sorry, Mr. Branson, to tell you that you have motor neurone disease, you know, my wife's sitting next to me. I've known her since I was 12. She's in pieces.
Yeah.
She's gone.
I think I would be able to eat out of my partner.
And she's a lot stronger than me, guys. You know, she's the matriarch of the family. So you're looking for something to say or do to make it, just alleviate it slightly, and I couldn't come up with anything at all. So we found ourselves sort of wandering around the hospital and slowly processing it. But I do know what you mean. So that was huge. That day was and remains to be, you know, as you say, because it doesn't just affect me and her, it affects our children, you know, and all our relatives. So then back to 2018, my dad passed away. Then through a routine blood test, no symptoms whatsoever, I was told that I'd got stage 2 prostate cancer. That's now stage 3. And when I mentioned gratitude at the beginning, it's because I'm finally going to start some treatment, which I feel incredibly positive about. You know, I wanted the prostate taken out, but because of the motor neurone disease, they wouldn't consider it. So I'm starting treatment. But obviously, when I just first found out, and very, very quickly, I went from being in the car a lot to being not in the car at all, to being in the house, to being from the house to the bedroom, to the bed, to being under the cover. No communication, shaking like a leaf, visibly shaking. Wouldn't see anybody, couldn't speak to anybody. And that happened within a matter of a couple of weeks. I didn't see it coming. If you'd have said to any of my friends or all my colleagues through my career, you know, Clive, do you think he'd be a candidate for having his mental health compromised? They say, he must be joking. Red hair, big garb, he's the one that we go to if we've got something to talk about or whatever. But I actively demonstrate that we're only 1 or 2 steps away from that at any point.
100%.
And it happened really quickly. And ultimately, I ended up in psychiatric hospital, and I was there for 10 weeks. You know, I lost perspective completely. Perspective is really crucial in life. And I'd lost it, lost focus. But it was again my wife that brought that perspective back. You know, I'd been in there a couple of weeks, and I remember looking at her, and I just remember seeing madness around me. And then she's got to go get in the car, go home, do all the mundane stuff, deal with the children, pay the bills, do all that stuff, and then get in the car and come back and visit her husband again here. Wow, we're a team. We've always been a team. She needs me, and I definitely need her. And perspective started to come back, and I remember it vividly. And that was that source of power that came to me. That allowed me to get strong enough to go home.
It's that beacon of light, that beacon of love that can bring you back in, isn't it?
Oh, massively.
I always think depression, I always call it my dark room.
Yeah.
And it's a room I can nip in, nip out. You know what? You can devil.
Yeah.
Long you're in there, you find out it's not actually a room, it's a maze.
Yeah.
And once you're lost in the maze, if you're lucky to have that beacon of love, you've got to follow that home. You really have. And that is your lifeline. If you've got that wife, that daughter, that dog, that whatever it is,
different for whoever,
that can bring you home.
Oh, it really does. And you know, it wasn't lost on me that there was people in there that had no visitors at all. You know, they didn't have what I'd got in terms of a support network. You know, they did. It's not everybody's got that, and it serves me well now. You know, I haven't got it all together. I haven't got it all sorted. Not at all. You know, I'm a realist. I know exactly what I'm up against, and that realization needs managing. You know, mentally, it needs managing, and I work on myself most days. So that was the perfect storm that really made me go to those depths, really. But the point is that I managed to find myself again. I found because, you know, when I got home, the biggest thing that hit me, and it wasn't the MND, it wasn't the prostate cancer, it wasn't the psychiatric hospital, it was the loss of identity.
Yeah,
I had lost who was Clive now. You know, all these hats that I wear naturally with pride. Well, you know, I'm not contributing to the house. You know, my kids are looking at me treading on eggshells a little bit, even though I've asked them not to. I'm not that guy anymore. I'm different. I've got to find a new path. I've got to find myself, not just find myself again. I've almost got to find a new Clive, and you can't do that on your own.
I talk about identity a lot, and I think a lot of people really felt that in lockdown, because you walk in, you go, "Hi, my name's Kev, I run a boxing gym," or "Hi, my name's Lee." And when you take away your job, who am I?
Yeah.
And then what happens is, like with a disability, you almost become, "Hi, I'm Kev, I'm blind," or "Hi, I've got Parkinson's," and you think, well, that's just an element of you.
Yeah.
Like your sexuality is an element of you. Your hair color is an element of you.
Yeah.
If you go bald, you're still Kev.
That's right.
If you know, and but it's so hard, because then people start treating you as the disability and go, well, I'm still me.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't ever lose sight in that. And if you don't like me, don't like me anymore now that I'm Pooley.
No, that's
and
right.
Don't like me any less because I'm Pooley.
That's right. No, it's a really good point. We get lost behind a label that other people, sometimes society, puts on us,
and we put on ourselves sometimes.
No,
is this what I've been reduced to?
Yeah. No, you're right. I was just not willing to do it. I was just not willing to be defined by the diagnosis or by the challenges or the fact that I, you know, lost my income and lost my actually, my youngest son introduced me to the world of podcasts, and I do a lot of volunteer gardening, and I was listening to podcasts, and I just thought, I've got a story to tell, but it's more than that. I've got a story to tell that might help somebody. It might help somebody. It's not, oh, if I can do it, you can do it. No. Is it a woe is me tale? No. It's a case of this is Clive, this is me, I'm real, I'm authentic, and we can talk about elements of my story and my journey now, and it's not toxic positivity, it's genuine positivity.
It's realistic, isn't it?
It's real. It's real. The next chapter of my life with my family, we do face it with a smile. It's, you know, and that's why I talk about it, because it's a two-way street. It doesn't matter if I'm talking to inmates in a high security prison or barristers in London or with you good guys in a boxing club. It's the same. The message is the same. You know, I don't tailor it, or, you know, this is me. And I can actively demonstrate that talking about it does help. It genuinely does. Don't be defined by a disability. Don't be defined by a diagnosis. And God, by the way, you're a lot stronger than you know.
So I found very similar with my situation. For the first 5 years of my daughter's life, it was hell on earth, to be quite honest.
I'm sure.
And then you start adapting, getting used to things, and your outlook in your head changes. You realise actually there's not positives to come out of it, but you start seeing the positives in the situation you're in, and you move forward with that, and it just gets easier in that sense.
Yeah, no, good on you, because obviously what you're up against as a family is huge. So I applaud you for having that outlook. But it's very, very important to have your eyes and ears wide open. It's also very important to realise that, you know, when you're feeling vulnerable, that's actually a bit of a superpower. If you can feel that vulnerability and realise, I'm not the only one feeling vulnerable here. If you face up to it and talk about it and discuss it, all of a sudden it's not so scary. It's not so scary. Surrendering to your vulnerabilities is liberating. It really is.
And showing up.
And brave.
Brave.
It is. Yeah, not everyone. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes people just need the opportunity to talk about it. It's not so much that they won't or they can't. They just need an ear. They need to be given the opportunity that, actually, if you want to talk about it, let's have a chat.
And it doesn't have to be on a podcast. It doesn't have. It can be just a one-to-one with someone.
Yeah, most definitely.
You know, it doesn't have, you don't have to go into prisons, do you?
No,
but just find that person who you can talk with.
Before we go into actual diagnosis of it and explain about it, you know, being in what I'd say proper hospital, and a psychiatric hospital, aren't they completely two different beasts?
It's like night and day.
Because I know, because you're going to proper hospital, and you feel like I go in there, and I feel like I broke my leg. I want to go in. You cast my leg, I feel better.
That's right.
Some of these psychiatric hospitals, you're thinking, I know people who physically will do anything not to go in there. And a lot of time, we're very overpoolly people, but not a lot of work gets done. It's like in jail. We'll throw you in there, but there's no rehabilitation to stop you from coming back in there. And hospitals shouldn't be a punishment.
No.
It should be a place of healing.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Yeah, I mean, there's no two ways about it. You know, you're sometimes medicated out the door, really. And really, it needs a lot more than that. Because you're poorly and you need help, and there's some pretty obvious things that they need to do. But in terms of rehabilitating you and encouraging you and building your confidence, there's not a lot of that going on. You know, there's not a lot of that. You know, they're busy. They're probably doing 3 people's jobs. You know, I never saw the same consultant twice. You know, I would. You get to know the nurses on and doctors on the rota, but they were just busy, in, out, administer the tablets. No decisions or no sign of progress in your care was ever discussed with you until you got in front of a consultant. And the consultant breezes in maybe once so many days. It's somebody different. He's flicking through your file. He's really more concentrating on what medication you're on and are you on the right doses. And then before you know it, you're back in your room or on the ward. So
it's the diagnosis, not the man again, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And we've had lots of GPs, and it's slightly different, but the same. Back when we were kids, you'd have your GP, and your GP knew your dad, your nan, and it'd be, your dad just suffered this depression, and your granddad. And a lot of times when you're just seeing a GP, a consultant, they know nothing about it. And I think, considering everyone's always writing down notes, Why is no one ever bloody reading them?
Yeah. Where's the history?
You think in bright red letters before you see Kev.
Yeah.
X, don't mention the war.
Yeah.
Don't mention that.
Yeah.
But have these things. So as soon as you meet him, you've got 3 to 20 bulletins.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to be that.
No.
So why are you here? So what you're hearing, what you do,
Yeah.
and you're thinking,
yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I do. I've years ago we had a family doctor. I knew him for 20 years. He knew me, he knew my wife, he knew my children, all through their lives. But now, A, it's difficult to see a doctor at all, and B, we'll guarantee you'll see a different one each time. So that's not great. And I think,
and with these consultants, you want it to be, if you are writing there, make sure you've got something to read.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm going into it going, hi, Clive, we haven't met before, but I've read your notes.
Yeah.
And that straight away puts you at ease, doesn't it?
That's enough. That just makes you think that you're in front of the right man or woman. Definitely. The system is so disjointed. It's so disjointed. I'll give you an example. I went to I went to see the oncologist about 2 weeks ago, who pressed the green light on this treatment, and she was excellent, and she started me on the treatment there and then. She said, you need an up-to-date PSA count on your blood test, which is an indication of how the cancer's behaving. It's not definitive, but it's just an idea that it gives them. So I go to the GP and I say, look, I've got this letter off the oncologist. Can I have a PSA count? Yeah, no problem. We'll fit you in. I said, okay, that's brilliant. When will I be able to ring up and have that PSA count number? Because I track it myself. I know what I'm doing. We won't be able to see it. I said, well, what do you mean? I'm here. I've given you the letter. It's going on the system. I'll have the blood test. I had the blood test within a matter of 3 or 4 days. But because it was requested by the oncologist, the GP won't have sight of it.
I get this all the time.
Hello. I said, surely you're all under the NHS. I'm not bouncing between.
Yeah, surely you bring my name up on the computer and it brings everything up you'd have thought.
But it's not like that, is it?
No.
You must experience
it. Especially blood tests.
Something simple, like, I know that's minor and it's simple, but surely it shouldn't be that disjointed. It shouldn't be that but it is. But it is, and it's not just me. It's everybody's in the same boat, obviously.
But we had Dr. Lloyd come on. He talked about prostate cancer.
Yeah,
and it's with the hormone injections, and that shrinks it down.
Yeah,
and then hopefully once it shrinks down, then the radio can get the rest of it off, and it's it's. But when you hear the C word, it is one of those. Horrible words, isn't it?
Listen, I had one of my sons, Charlie, with me when I got that news, and again, because I wasn't expecting any decision or news, otherwise my wife would have been with me. But Charlie was with me. He's nearly 30, and they were very good, and they said, look, we're really sorry to tell you that you got prostate cancer, but it as I said before, you feel like you're in a bit of an echo chamber. But what I actually did, and Charlie would sort of testify to this, I actually said, Charlie, how on earth am I going to go home and tell your mom this? It's getting a bit, what else sort of thing, really, with a bit of a wry smile on my face. But they have been excellent with me all the way through. But
with your family.
Yeah, but also the NHS. But there's a I'd like to share some really important information here, guys, if I may, because I've learned quite a bit, understandably, about how this prostate cancer is to be treated. So I initially wanted the prostate to be taken out. I thought that was just my view. It was just simple, take it out.
If it's not there, I'm done.
You've got it.
Yeah.
But of course, it's a bigger operation than perhaps I first thought. But the urologist at the time said, Clive, I have to do my homework because I've done this 1,000 times, but I've not done it on anybody that's got motor neurone disease before. So come back in a couple of weeks, which I did, and he did do his research and he showed me, and everybody, in crucially Oxford, said you can't do that operation. You can't do it. But here's the important bit that I'd like to share with your viewers and listeners, because everybody should know about this. There's an alternative treatment, and it's called brachytherapy. And I thought, that sounds a bit wacky. What on earth's that? But it's a much lesser surgery, and they implant radioactive seeds into the prostate, and then that's it. They leave them there. You haven't got to go back into hospital. You haven't got to have them taken out. And they release radiation over 6 to 12 months, and they kill the cancer off. And at the moment, there's not every hospital can offer it. I was referred to Manchester, to the Christie, to have it done. And I was really encouraged by this because it was an operation that they said I could have, even though I've got the motor neurone disease. But everybody should know about this option, and I certainly didn't know about it. However, when I got there, they said, sorry, Clive, we can't do it because of the MND, which has put me back to the radiotherapy. But I just thought I'd share that because, you know, it's important. It's an option that, you know, everybody should know about.
Why couldn't they do the operation? Because of
I think, well, with the first one, it was because it's a bigger operation than they thought. And what it does, it affects quite a few muscle groups.
Yeah.
And the theory behind it is that whilst my motor neuron is slow, my muscles might not bounce back.
Yeah.
As they would. And you're talking about potentially being incontinent and all sorts of things. So I totally understood the rationale behind it. With the brachytherapy, they said that you actually, although it's a much less operation, they still have to anaesthetize you twice.
Yeah.
And you know, I've had heart surgery in the past. I had a stroke when I was 37.
Bloody hell, me and you never get on the same plane.
Listen, you won't want to play
on with you.
You don't want to play top trumps with me, guys. I'll tell you that. I was at home, and you know, my youngest was 14 days old, and I know that because it was the last day of paternity. I'd got a headache.
Anything to stay off longer.
Yeah. I had all that. I got up, and my brother-in-law at the time said, "Oh, you're back in the room," you know. And I spoke to him, but what I said was gobbledygook.
Yeah.
It didn't register with me, and I was not in any distress or pain, but it registered with him. And he said, "Say that again," and it happened again, and I heard it that time, and I knew exactly who he was, knew exactly what I wanted to say. Could not get the brain and the mouth connected at all, not at all. So I got up. I thought I'll get some fresh air, and I just collapsed, and I had a seizure, and I was taken into hospital, obviously blue lighted, and my brain had started to swell, and the clot had actually got on the main artery. So they said to my wife, "Don't be here on your own. You know, this is not looking too clever." Long story short,
poor bloody wife.
Oh, listen,
What a saint!
I've took the insickness in health vow a bit. I've
Pushing your luck.
Stretched it. Obviously, when they were doing what they were doing, the clot dissolved. They found out that it had got through because I've got a hole in my heart.
A murmur?
No, an actual hole.
From birth?
Yeah, and now you can have, it transpires that you can have a defect in your heart. You'll know nothing about it. If it's 2 or 3 millimeters, you'll never know. This thing in my heart, I'd got to 37. I'd been in the RAF. I'd done a bit of novice boxing. You know, I was relatively fit. I'd never had a problem with my ticker, not even a hint of it. But I'd got a 12 millimeter hole in the center of my heart. So they put a 14 millimeter device into my heart to close the hole. And I've had no symptoms, no problems since. But what a way to find out, you know. So yeah, it was another episode in the Branson household.
It's really amazing, you know, our loved ones. And you see the people, like, when you're in the fight yourself, you have a stroke, you have the cancer, you have the motor neuron, you have the blindness, you have this. You look at that person, you go, bloody hell, Clive, you're brave. The scariest job in the world is when you can't nothing.
Yeah.
If I'm in the fight myself, I can be brave. But when you love someone, like your wife loves you, like you and your daughter, that's the scariest job in the world. Because you go, and I always say it's like the Green Mile. that bloke who's you want to suck it out of them and take it, because if it's my problem, I can fight it. But when you're sat there, at the side of the bed, and you feel absolutely
useless,
but that's the strongest person in the world. Even though they've got their fear, they've got their feeling of uselessness, but still bloody there.
Yeah.
Isn't that a strong person?
Do you know what? I heard a great saying, and I can't remember. I'll claim it as my own, but it's not.
Kev does that all the time.
I heard this guy say, it's much harder to be the person standing by the bed than the person in the bed.
How true.
And I thought, wow, that just sums up everything that you've just said. And I just thought, yeah, I'll remember that one. And it's very true. And it's a very good point. You know, my loved ones, you know, I mean, like Alfie, he's 16, nearly 17 now. He's a wonderful creature. He's really level-headed. But all this had to be treated it was all very sensitive around him, because the others are big and older, and you could discuss it with them, and it was still difficult for them. Of course, I'm their dad, you know. But with Alfie, it's been really difficult to control the information that he's been exposed to. And he's 16, he's nearly 17, he's 17 in July. So we're just getting to the stage where we're you know, as and when he wants to, we're having conversations around it. But yeah, it's in terms of the others, and clearly my wife, their strength, their inspiration and their love is definitely keeps me going. No question.
Because we have people like who I know have got mental health.
Yeah.
And it is, and like me, myself, when I've been suffering with depression, or when I've had my anxiety attacks, and it's the ripples on your wife. And you're going, well, how is it living with that real moody git? Or, you know, that, we're having a lovely day, and he's had one of his wobbles. And it's, you try, and then you feel guilty, but your partner's there. Taking it on the chin, taking it, and you feel guilty, and she and you're going, love is the greatest gift you can ever give anyone.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Here's another one that I'm going to claim as my own, and it isn't, but this one really sticks with me. I love and I am loved. Now, it's not that long ago. I was far too big and cool to come out with a statement like that, but bloody hell, guys, I love and I am loved. What a beautiful saying. And to remind yourself of that it's powerful. It's really, really powerful.
And that once again, that gratitude. We us three are all lucky here to have a wife. And we have children. But if that I love and I am loved is your cat. If that's your dog, if that's your goldfish. Remind yourself, because love is the only language that's universal. It can be spoken by any man. It can be spoke to an animal. If you stroke a cat, it knows it's got love.
That's right.
If you put some bread on your hand, the bird knows it's loved.
Yeah.
Love is the only language that's universal.
Yeah.
So I love and I am loved.
Yeah.
Remind yourself of that, because that one beautiful saying can pull you out that dark place.
Oh, really? It really can, because so much in this crazy thing we call life is boils down to love.
Yeah.
If you've got love and if you recognize love, it puts most other things into the shade, really. You know, love is it's so powerful, it's so important, and it really needs to be treasured. And you know, you need to almost share it as well and talk about it like we are now, because some people they're a bit too blokey to talk about love. Well, no, you know, because it serves us well, doesn't it, guys? Serves us well.
The one thing that you want to be contagious is love and kindness.
Yeah.
If we can get a taste of that, and then we can spread that.
Yeah.
And I have loads of people going, Kev, how can I give back to the Lions?
Yeah.
I went, don't give back, give forwards.
Yeah.
I went, I gave it to you because I loved you.
Yeah.
If you're always giving forwards,
yeah,
there's some poor bugger who's receiving it.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the key with life and love and kindness and all these beautiful words that mean the same.
Yeah. Give
it forwards.
Yeah.
And then there's also someone who's receiving it.
Yeah. No, that's very true. That's very true. Because, you know, it's took me 54 years to realize that, you know, we have to live life on life's terms. We just do. You know, we make plans, God laughs. It's very, very true. But if you can ground yourself when you're feeling overwhelmed, and it happens to us all, when you're feeling overwhelmed and there's just a little bit too much noise, you just give yourself enough time and space to anchor yourself. And to do that, you just concentrate on the simplest thing. Might be the chair you're sitting in, might be your own breath. Just concentrate on something simple, and all of a sudden the noise starts to get cancelled out. And it's powerful to remind people of that, because we all feel vulnerable at times. All of us do. We are not the only ones. But yeah, back to your point, if you can move forward, and then if you might then be a beacon of light for somebody else, well, that's a beautiful thing.
Do you find yourself that obviously having strokes, M&D, prostate cancer, do you find yourself, I found myself when it all kind of settled down and that, then you realise how much the little things don't matter in life. The little things that you used to get on your nerves.
Yeah.
It just, road rage, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
Don't get me wrong, every now and again it creeps in.
Yeah, of course it does.
The vast majority of the time, that's when you're at a high end of stress. You may have had more bad news or something else happen, but it puts it into perspective, doesn't it?
That's a really good point. I look at life through a completely different lens now, completely different. And I don't sweat the small stuff, I really don't. There was a time in my life, I'd have had a row in an empty house, I was probably wound up, and this, that, and the other, and things would bother me, and I would get stressed and agitated very, very easily. But I'm completely different. And it's not just all through my struggles. We grow up, we mature. My wife and my children teach me a lot, just by being them and us. Because you don't get a book, do you? You have to learn. You have to make mistakes, And I find with my boys that I find that there's a fine balance between being dad, but being their mate as well. And I try and be their mate as well, not just dad. But these things you learn and you make mistakes. So yeah, I do. I try and impart that onto them, and they don't try and control the things that you never got any chance of controlling. You're wasting your time, because time is the most important currency of all, as we know. But it saps your energy, it saps everything from you. Just worry and concentrate on the things that you can influence. And
don't get needlessly angry. If someone does cut you up, you get angry. All you've done is spoil it yourself, not them.
Absolutely.
It is what it is.
And
it's not possible all the time, because like I say, sometimes the outside stresses in your life build up to the point that, I don't know, if someone could knock your pen on the floor and it'd be too much. But
that's right.
Your book is just too full then.
One
extra drop. Somebody's going to have a spill and it's off.
That's all it takes.
And you're not shouting at that person, it's just shouting at the situation.
Of course.
But that's why you need them mechanisms. To think, well, okay, how can I empty the bucket? Do I read a book? Do I go to the gym? Do I do absolutely sod all? Watch a movie I've seen 1,000 times. Good old Fools and Horses.
Can't fail.
Something like that. But the great thing with life, if you've done it right, you learn yourself. And you learn your off switch. You learn how to deal with yourself. And that's something that comes with age, isn't it?
Oh, it is. I'm only now able to look in the mirror with honesty. And I mean being honest with myself. There would have always been a deflection before. There would have been a bit of a blame culture, maybe it was someone else's fault, or pity poor me, or whatever. I'm sure I've been through all that before as I've matured, but I look at myself with honesty now, and I think you have to do that. I think you have to be honest with yourself.
So to anyone who doesn't know motor neuron disease, what is it? Is there a cause?
Well, there isn't an obvious cause. The neurons are in the motor section of your brain, and basically motor neurone disease is where these neurons die off. And as I said earlier, that could be aggressive or it can be slow. But as there's many thousands of them. But as they die, what that does, that kills the signal that your brain sends to your muscles. Every muscle in your body, apart from your eyes, bizarrely, is not affected, they say. But every other muscle is. So, like with my left foot, I was just unable to control it. It would be floppy. It would go weak. I'd go over on it. My calf, when I haven't got my splint on and I'm, say, watching telly at night, if you look at my leg, it looks like an alien. Looks like I've got like a pregnant lady when the baby's moving around, because the signals are just confused. Yeah. They don't know what's going on.
So it's moving your leg on it.
Yeah, it twitches. They call it the correct term is fasciculations, but it's like twitches basically. And that then slowly develops until that muscle can no longer work. But of course, you're talking about breathing here. You need muscles to breathe. It's not just eating. I sometimes have a lazy swallow, so I have inhalers, and I have to be careful sometimes what I eat. But I'm very lucky because it's just so slow. I keep saying it, just reminding myself of how slow it is. My left side's a bit strong, a bit weaker than this side. My core strength's a bit weaker. I can't stand for anywhere near as long. I can cycle better than I can walk. But to answer your question, Kev, that's what it is. They don't really know what causes it, and they definitely don't know how to stop it. Since heroes like Doddy Weir, Rob Burrow, people like that have raised millions and millions of pounds, it's pressured the government into doing some genuine funding for genuine research. That's what it needs, research. There's one tablet that when you're diagnosed with MND that they give you, and it's called Riluzole. Really doesn't do a lot, and they tell you that. They say if you've got an aggressive form, it might give you 2 or 3 extra months. That tablet was first diagnosed over 30 years ago, and there's been nothing prescribed since.
Madness,
nothing,
isn't it?
And that's crazy.
So someone like Stephen Hawking, who was one of the cleverest men to ever be on the earth, you'd think he alone would have been publicity for us, wouldn't he? Because unfortunately there's some unfashionable diseases.
Yeah, of course there are.
You know what I mean? And you feel like with someone like with his caliber,
that's right, and his profile,
being a clever clogs, knowing other clever clogs.
Absolutely, that's a really good point, and I'd not looked at it like that, Kev. But you're right. If anybody had got, the contacts and the power, if you like,
geniuses,
But no, nothing happened. It took some real good old working class guys like Rob Burrow, Doddy Weir, people like that who are sadly no longer with us. But boy, did they raise awareness. And as I said, the money that's raised, yes, it's helping people, and it goes to grants and it goes to, adaptations that are really needed. But the bulk of it goes for research. We've got to find ultimately a cure, of course, but let's find something that helps it. Let's find something that can slow it down when it's aggressive. That's what we really need to do.
Because some people, I know 2 people, their parents, in fact, who've got very fast, and within, I don't know, years, they've gone from mom to
unrecognizable,
and it's terrible, isn't it?
It's all disease is awful, but MND is really cruel. It robs you of everything. Some people, that the first thing can be your voice. It can be your vocal cords, and you lose your voice. Well, we just take that for granted, don't we? So
the art of communication. If you've always been able to talk and communicate in whatever aspect, whether you've always been able to sign, but when your form of communication is taken away, it's not a luxury, it is a gift.
Absolutely, no question. And it robs you of that, and of course, once that signal has gone and that muscle's not responding, that's it. You can't go to the gym, you can't strengthen it, you can't. Because that was one of my questions. I said, well, Is there some exercises I can do to keep it strong? Makes absolutely no difference at
That's
all.
the first thing you think of, isn't it? With muscle. Well, if I start training, my muscles are a bit bigger and stronger.
But you can't, I mean, my foot, for example, it looks completely different to this one. And the reason is, obviously, there's muscle weakness, but it's things that I didn't understand. My foot and the muscles don't know, because the nerves are being affected. They don't know whether they should be hot, whether they should be cold, how should they react. So, it goes blotchy. When I'm lying down, it goes stone cold. All these different things, and it slowly it'll creep its way around. But yeah, I'm learning as I go. But the awareness of MND is, even just since my diagnosis, they are genuinely making great strides, and there's some really genuinely hardworking people that are with. I mean, the MND Association. I mean, they do the community work and just the support at the end of the phone, not just for me, but for your wives, for your girlfriends, for your husbands, they're there, and they are incredible at what they do. So the MND Association is something that we should all be really grateful for.
Not to put you on the spot now, but do you know any good forums that people could log on to if they are going through this?
In terms of motor neurone disease, the very best people to speak to is the MND Association. And they've got helpline. You can go direct to them. They've got a helpline. They call it Connect. But I mean, I'm a technophobe, but I can just Google that and it'll come straight up. And it doesn't just ask you to put a generic email in to the ether somewhere. There's a phone number that real people pick up the phone. And so that's the best advice.
We're on about empathy, but a technophobe like myself, you can't see. Sometimes I just want a bloody phone number.
Yeah.
Where I can just talk to someone.
Yeah.
And feel like a human being.
That's right. Listen, it's a lost art, isn't it? It's really difficult to speak to human beings. But that you'll get that if you want help, advice, guidance. You will speak to a human being through the MND Association, and I have. My wife has. So that's the very best advice I can give.
So once again, the organisation isn't just for the person who's poorly.
No,
it's also for the loved ones who
go
fighting the same fight as their partners.
Of course they are. You're a team player in this fight. Yeah. There's no two ways about it, Kev. So yeah, they will speak to whoever needs it. And
before you go, you're doing something on Monday?
I am. Thank you very much for bringing that up. I'm, as I said, I'm very passionate about sharing my story and using it as a way of helping people that might just need it, might just need a bit of somebody that actively demonstrate that you're stronger than you realize. So what I'm doing, I'm giving a talk on Monday, the 8th of July, in the Millennium Point in the centre of Birmingham. Tickets are £10. You can go on to my website, which is www.clivebranson.co.uk. You can go straight on the Millennium Point website, and all the links, the QR codes. It's very, very simple to purchase a ticket. Every single penny that we raise for that day, from that day, goes to the Frank Bruno Foundation, which is based in Northampton. And they do some phenomenal work in the mental health space. They genuinely save lives. I've seen it with my eyes and ears. So that's really dear to my heart. And I would encourage businesses, organizations. Don't just come and get death by PowerPoint. I'll share my profound story, but I talk about effective communication. I talk about things that helped me, things that didn't help me. It's an interactive session. So friends, colleagues, teammates, they will leave that Millennium Point and they will feel encouraged, they will feel confident, and they will feel inspired. So yeah, I would urge anybody to go onto those links and purchase a ticket, because you'll be the better for it.
One more time, Clive, how can I contact you?
www.clivebranson.co.uk or the Millennium Point website direct. I'm on LinkedIn, all the links are on there. I'm on Instagram, Branson Clive, and I laugh because I am a technophobe, but I do have a YouTube channel thanks to my son, and that's called Clive's Inspiration Hub. But those two links, the website and the Millennium Point, or LinkedIn, they've got the prominent links, and they can purchase a ticket very easily.
Well, Clive, thank you, brother, ever so much for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me.
And as always, have you got any quotes or sayings that have helped you get through life? You've already given a couple of belters.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean on the two that I've already said, and I know that's a little bit of a lame answer, but accept that we live life on life's terms. That is just a realism of life. But also hang on to the fact that I love and I am loved. That is powerful, and it will serve you well.
Well, guys, I hope you've all enjoyed that. Until we all see each other next time, I want you all to take care of yourselves and each other. Draw a bit.
Listen.
And that's a wrap for another show. But if there are any comments or messages that you would like us to read out for our next podcast, please be in touch. There are also lots of different organisations at the bottom of this page, and hopefully they can help you or someone you care about. Please share this to spread the word. Until we talk next time, ta-ra a bit.
Listen.